This is Jetting Up with B-Reich and Bryan Foti. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bryan Foti alongside with my boy B-Reich, Brian Reichert, on this glorious day. Training camp officially open for the New York Jets. Their first practice was today, and we have some big news coming into the show.
Breaking news, Bryan Foti. Quinnen Williams signing a contract.
Signing a contract with the New York Jets, the standard. They've come to an agreement, 4-year deal, $32.5 million. That money was slotted. He does get the signing bonus of $21.7 million, which was the holdup in the contract negotiations. So now Quinnen Williams will be on the practice field tomorrow when the Jets go for day number 2. And we'll be there on Saturday, day 3. We'll have a special edition of the podcast coming from you. Probably we'll drop that next week early with hopefully some good interviews and some videos on our Instagram page with the players and stuff. It should be a fun day out at camp. We're looking forward to going to it. But good news, we'll get to see Q there in action. And
thank God.
What do you think? Him inking the deal. Now he's in camp. What's his expectations coming into training camp in year 1?
Finally, man. Finally it's over. He's coming to camp. You know, we're getting our guy in there. You know, and he's going to be in a position that's going to be difficult to show. But, you know, I think this kid's going to pop right away. You know, his work ethic's great. You know, he's a tough kid. And he's got some shake. He's got some wiggle to him when he's pass rushing and he's inside. And, you know, I think he could be a special player for the Jets this year. Let's see what he's got.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching practice tomorrow, following them on the social media accounts and seeing what he does out on the field and then getting to see them live on Saturday. I think he's going to come in. I don't know if he'll make an impact right away, but he's got McClendon there to kind of show him the ropes, and I think he'll jump right in. I think this.
Now, do you think he goes with the ones?
Yeah, I think they're going to put him in with the ones. They drafted him number 3 overall.
They better, man.
So I think in that spot, I saw today Greg Williams was doing a couple 4-3 looks. They were talking about it on Twitter. A couple of the Jets beat writers were mentioning that, and that was something that we talked about in a couple of the offseason shows. What type of defense were they going to run? They said 3-4 base, but again, I think they're going to be.
We've had 4-3 personnel for a very long time,
and
man.
So that's a positive sign. And if you put him in the 4-3, where do you see Q lining up in that defensive alignment?
I love him in the 3-tech. I think that's where he flourished in Alabama. I think right next to Steve McClendon. Maybe have Leo next to him, as the 5 technique. I think that could be a devastating combination. And I think, defensively against a run, I mean, that's a perfect fit, especially with the kind of linebackers we have. A 4-3, I really hope Williams does, take a look and does use that front a lot with this group.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Who would you go with the starting 4 on the D-line there? Mine would probably be Leonard Williams. I'd have probably McClendon, Quinnen, and then... Are you putting
Goose, man?
Yeah, you got to put
the
Goose, right?
there,
and then you're having Ja'Kai Polite come off the
Absolutely,
bench and off the edge.
You kind of use Ja'Kai on third downs, and you kind of use him in second and longs, and you kind of keep him fresh. And then you mix in Jordan a little bit, give Leo a blow, and then you could even give Shepard. If you go to that 4-down look, it honestly gives Shepard a look too.
Yeah, so I like the 4-3 look. We'll see how much they utilize it in the early stages of training camp, but the big news, Quinnen Williams signing that 4-year deal. He'll be in Jets camp tomorrow, and that's something good and a positive thing. The last guy, Nick Bosa, signed as well today, so every first-round pick has now been signed, and away we go. And training camp, this is a big year for the Jets. We've talked about it all winter long, coming into the summer now. High expectations. I was watching the introductory press conferences for the training camp when they came in. I love what Sam Darnold had to say the other day when they asked him, what do you expect this year? And he said a lot of wins. What were your thoughts to that, Brian, when he made that statement 2 days ago?
I mean, it's the reason why I love the kid. It's just a football player, just, a tough guy and wants to win games, wants to do things well, takes everything serious, and, definitely gels with the guys. You could tell right away that the team really responds well to him.
Yeah, and at this time of year, everybody's excited, but I just like the confidence that Darnold showed going from his rookie year now into his sophomore year. He knows that this is his team. Last year when he came in, it was kind of, he's got to learn the position and earn the respect of the veterans. Now this year, I think everybody knows it's his team, and he's the leader, the unquestioned leader probably on that offense. And I like that he said, I expect a lot of wins, because that's what Jet fans want to see. They want this team to win games.
Yeah, and, you brought up a point that, you're going into year 2. I honestly think that, a lot of times when those guys go from year 1 to year 2, those teams get a lot of film. Some guys will regress, but I think it's kind of a blessing for Sam because he is almost starting over. He's got a whole new system, a new offense, a new brain to work with, especially a guy that a lot of people think are a really good offensive mind. So
Le'Veon Bell called him a mastermind today.
Yeah, that's good to hear for sure. I mean, fantasy people would disagree on Adam Gase on that point for Le'Veon Bell, but we'll get to that a little later.
Yeah, but coming into camp with Darnold, I was going to ask you a question as far as it pertains to the Jets offense this year. With the weapons that Sam has, I mean, I think the sky's the limit. Do you think Gase, coming into his first year, he mentioned that he has a good grasp of the offense? Do you think they let him open up the playbook a little bit more in year 2, let him throw the ball more down the field? Because last year we saw a lot of intermediate passing games. Do you think he's going to allow him to throw it, or what do you think early on in the preseason? What's their plan, you think?
I think Gase is going to start to evaluate his personnel and see what guys kind of do well, especially with Sam. Sam can make all the throws, so I think it's just about building that trust. And one thing that, as good as it sounds to open up the playbook, you also want Sam to be smart. He made a couple mistakes early on in the year that he can't make. And, he started to progress and he started to show that he could get rid of those mistakes. But, just keep in mind, opening up the playbook, could lead to those turnovers, especially early on with, not a lot of receivers that are, number one guys.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned in year 1 to year 2, you had said that about Darnold possibly regressing. Recent trends with some of the quarterbacks in the NFL, you saw Pat Mahomes in his second year. I know he didn't start his first year, but he looked great.
Because he didn't play his first year.
Okay, there you go. You had Carson Wentz make a tremendous leap. Jared Goff had a good leap. Mitch Trubisky on Chicago. So those are all recent quarterbacks that have come into the NFL and had a very good second year.
Now, do you see a trend with those names that you just mentioned?
A trend.
Think of those offensive coaches.
Yeah, they're offensive coaches.
Absolutely.
So Adam
Perfect
Gase is
pairings.
So Adam Gase is an offensive coach. So you got to hope that that's the positive trend moving forward with the Jets. So that's what I saw yesterday, and again the first practice today was good. But Le'Veon Bell was back on the field today. First practice. Said he took the conditioning test yesterday twice for the Jets. So for everybody that said he weighed 260 pounds, came in out of shape.
He looks in great shape, man.
Everyone has said it.
Listen, he's been posting videos on IG all summer. I've seen him in college when he was a monster back. He looks fantastic.
Yeah, he's in great shape. The beat writer said that he doesn't look like he's missed a step. I mean, I know it's day 1, but he looked very good in fit today in practice, said he was ready to go, and he was talking a little bit with the media after practice today, talking about his usage, and that brought up a good conversation that I wanted to ask you. This guy, we talked about it in the offseason, how I think this is a guy that you're going to lean on, especially with a young quarterback. They want to monitor his workload in the preseason. I would think you don't want to work him too hard in the preseason. You don't want to have him blow out a knee.
I don't want him to have one carry in the preseason.
So there you go. So, but you do want. But the thing is, he did miss a year of football last year, not playing at all. So you do kind of. I think you have to work him in a little bit in the preseason games. So if you were Adam Gase, what would be your plan of attack as we get closer to that first game against the Giants coming up on the 8th?
Well, I would definitely be cautious. I mean, you could definitely get him some reps here and there, but we need him down the stretch. And we need him healthy, especially in the beginning of the year. This schedule is brutal, and Sam with the new offense is going to be leaning on Le'Veon. The whole team is going to be leaning on Le'Veon early. So I want to keep him fresh in camp. We got plenty of bodies, a lot of guys competing for that second spot. So, give Le'Veon his reps, let him get comfortable with Sam, but let's keep him fresh and upright.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with him in the next couple days. I'm with you kind of on that as well. I definitely want to keep him fresh, but I think you should work him a little bit maybe in that second preseason game. I don't know if you're going to play him a ton. I know normally the starters are playing the third, but against the backups, maybe just get him, not against a backup offensive line, but maybe play him a little bit into that second quarter on that second preseason game just to get him a couple more reps and then kind of shut it down That would be maybe my plan of attack, just to get him a couple extra carries.
You're scaring me a little, folks.
No, I'm not scaring. No one's gonna get hurt. I'm not gonna be like Rex Ryan and put Mark Sanchez in a game with the backup offensive line and get his season ended. But that's gonna be an interesting storyline as camp goes through. But again,
now besides Lev Bell's usage, what do you think is like a possible kind of prediction of yours that how much is he actually going to be used in this season? How many touches do you think he could get up to with this offense?
Well, last year they talked about when he was in Pittsburgh in 2017, he had over 400 touches. He said 500 if they needed to win a Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to be that high. But the thing that I think the Jets are going to do with this guy in his first year, especially with a young quarterback, I think they're going to try to get him the ball. Now, if the defense dictates to him, you have the other weapons that you could throw to for Robbie Anderson, Jamison Crowder. You could use Ty Montgomery. You could use any of the other skill players that they have. But, if you can get Bell the ball, and he's such a matchup nightmare, if you can isolate him one-on-one with a linebacker, that's a great matchup, and I think a win for the Jets if you just throw him the ball out there kind of on like a quick screen pass like the Patriots do a lot. You can potentially get a couple of mismatches there and get big plays on that, and especially him as a receiver too. He may be the best wide receiver on the Jets.
It's honestly, I've touched on it a little bit throughout the couple of episodes we've had, but Lev Bell is the best receiver on this team. I mean, he's fantastic in the slot. Like he said, it kills linebackers in the matchups. He's way too big for most of the safeties in the NFL. He's an absolute nightmare. The only thing is, can we get another back to go back in that backfield and allow Lev Bell to kind of flex out? And that's how I see Le'Veon Bell easily getting over 400 touches.
Yeah, I think that's definitely in the cards this year. I mean, you look at Adam Gase as an offensive play caller, it's going to be his job to put him in positions to succeed, and I think he's going to want to win games, and that's your best player on the offensive side of the ball. They're definitely going to feature him. So I think it's probably going to be close to 400, maybe even upwards of that. I don't know. But so I think the Jets are going to try to get him. I mean, that's your workhorse this year, and especially while Sam is still developing. I mean, he's not totally there yet in year 2, and that's why it's so nice to have a player of this caliber with Bell, because you could lean on him when you're developing, and then once you learn it, he'll probably be worn out and ready to move on, and then you got Darnold to take us the rest of the way. But I mean, these first 2 years, I think they're going to use him. I mean, they essentially have him to a 2-year contract. Why not give him the ball?
He's fresh. Now, we're going to move on from Lev, and we're going to kind of go to one of the big concerns that, I know you're extremely worried about, and a lot of Jet fans are worried about. We ran a recent poll, and, most Jet fans are worried about this corner situation. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, right now I'm a little very worried about the secondary right now.
Now, let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Do you think Tremaine Johnson improves in year 2 with the Jets?
I sure hope so, but I think I know, right? I mean, he got interceptions last year.
He does get some interceptions. He is a gambler. He's not great in the run. But listen, with Greg Williams, he was fantastic. So let's try and bank on that. So we both agree an improvement year 2.
I mean, he got an $80 million contract for the Jets. He had to do something right.
I
had to
agree.
do something right in Los Angeles. I know he didn't have a good first year.
Better. I agree he's got to be better.
So
100%.
Yeah, but no, I definitely think, I mean, he warranted that deal. I don't know if he warranted an $80 million contract when they signed him, but he was a good enough player. He was the best corner
available on the market, for sure.
I think, coming into his second year with the Jets, he kind of will get a little bit better. I think Greg Williams will bring the best out of him. So I'm not really too concerned about him. It's the other side of the field that I'm really worried about, and that's with Darryl Roberts, and you got Brian Poole, who they said is going to practice tomorrow, but he missed the first day of practice, so that wasn't so good. But beyond that, I mean, there's really nobody there. I mean, they had Perry Nickerson from Tulane, but he hasn't really done much. You haven't heard much of him. Derek Jones, a couple of the guys they drafted a couple of drafts ago, guys Jet fans have talked about. But, we got to see these guys step up, and Adam Gase said it best. We're very thin at the position, and we're going to need guys to step up and play, and they got to get better fast. And, that's something that I may look to see what Joe Douglas does watching the waiver wire after cuts are made. Maybe they bring in a cornerback after the third preseason game, or maybe look to
now,
make a trade.
You think that they kind of make more of a bigger splash and go after a big guy, or do you think kind of signing a veteran to go along with Roberts? Because, I mean, he did get a pretty big deal.
Yeah, they
from
gave
the
him
Jets.
$27 million. They gave him $9 million a year, 3 years, $27 mil. So Mike Tannenbaum, my goodness. Mike McCagnon thought he was going to be the starting corner. Maybe I disagreed with it. But, I think they're going to play Darryl Roberts a lot there. So he's definitely going to be on the field, but as far as making a splash, it's kind of hard, I think, at this point, because everybody, when you go into camp, just like after you draft your fantasy football team, you like your team the first, going into it. You don't know, there's weaknesses, but no one's really going to give you up
listen, though, there are guys out there. I mean, Darius Slay's not happy.
Yeah, but he
Jalen Ramsey's not happy. They may report, but,
But why would a team trade them if they're reporting and they're there? They could work on a contract extension. I don't see why a team like Detroit is going to just trade a guy, because unless they really know that they're not going to play, but they're going to want something back in return. Are the Jets willing to give a second-round pick for Darius Slay?
I think it depends on the compensation.
Yeah, and if you want Jalen Ramsey, are you going to give them maybe? I think if I'm Jacksonville, I'm going to be a little ridiculous, but I'm going to ask for 2 number ones.
Yeah.
And you're not willing to give that? So.
I don't think I'd even give you a 1.
So there you go. But that's this early in the season now. Maybe as we get closer to the trade deadline in October.
So you see them signing more of a vet, kind of guy, more of a cheaper option.
I think right now that's definitely going to be a cheaper option if they are going to make a significant move at that position, because I just think teams right now don't want to part with their pieces unless they're in a holdout situation like a Melvin Gordon if he's really unhappy. But cornerback is a premium position in football. You need guys to cover. I mean, running backs are a little different, but this guy, Slay and Ram, those teams need them to be successful. So why would they get rid of them just for the sake of getting rid of them right now?
Yeah, I just think either team isn't really going anywhere, and I just don't know if they're going to give these guys a big deal. So, I mean, if you could steal them away for a 3rd-round pick, I mean, I consider it for sure. But we got to move on to the next topic, and, I'm going to let Foti hammer me here because he's been against him from the beginning. Let's talk about my guy, Marcus May, and the health concern going into camp.
He's on the PUP list, physically unable to perform, active. It can be any time. Now, Adam Gase did say that he didn't get any worse. He was in camp with the OTA recovering from that shoulder injury. But when they asked him, is he going to be ready for week 1, he said, I hope so. So when I heard that, I hope so, well, that doesn't sound that encouraging. And for a guy that was injured a lot coming off of surgery last year, missed the first 3 games of the year, then breaks his thumb, then gets another shoulder injury, shuts down, only played 6 games last year. This is something, I'm not going to say it's a major concern just yet. It's early in the preseason.
Do you think it's a make-or-break year for May?
I think, yes. This year, I think, is a big make-or-break year because his first year, he looked great all over the field. Jamal Adams got hurt a couple games. He was there.
I know.
Constant
Super
pro.
Smart, man.
He was a great player. We needed him last year. You wanted to see that, and you kind of got it taken away from us to see how they would play in year number 2 when they were both veterans, because he missed the first 3 games. Then he was back for a few. He had that big run back in the Denver game at the end of the game. But then after that, they were 2-3, and then he broke his thumb in the Minnesota game and didn't play against Chicago, came back. But then they were out of it, and then he got hurt again, and he was done for the year. So you didn't even really get to see
he
them
didn't do
together.
much in year 2 for sure.
So
I actually, I think that I'll be fine by week 1, and to be honest with you,
we just want to get him reps, though, because he's still a young player in my mind.
That's true. I mean, obviously, reps are important, 100%. But I also think, like we talked about with Lev, we got to keep these guys healthy for a full season. So if we got to manage the workload early to keep them fresh for later, I'm with it. But, to move on, next topic, position battles.
I'm excited. There's a couple good ones in camp this year, and I know I'm going to talk about one that, well, maybe not the most intriguing one for Jet fans, but I know you're going to be excited about this one. At punt returner and kick returner, your boy from Wake Forest, Greg Dortch, was returning punts. They had him. He said he had a good spring. You think he's got a shot to make this team and be a returner? They need a kick returner. This is
my guy. This is my guy. He was fantastic at Wake. Ended up tearing his knee. Then came out. But I got to tell you, this guy can do it all. I mean, he's super quick. He's super shifty. Had no quarterback and produced in college, and was a great punt returner. I think he would. A couple guys on Twitter were talking about who do they think's going to return. Dortch is my guy. I think he's our returner at the end of the year. I mean, at the end of camp.
Yeah, and the guys he's going against are probably going to be Trent Cannon, and I don't think they're going to put Jamison Crowder back there. So I mean, that's probably the guy. I don't know who else they have right now, but those are the two bubble spots. I mean, when you look at the Jets receivers right now, they have Robbie Q, who's the Crowder, Bellamy. That's the four, and then who's the fifth one? Yeah, and Devontae Burnett. So if they're going to keep 5 receivers or 6 receivers, I think that's going to be the battle right there, whether they keep the 4 backs, because you'll probably keep Montgomery, Bell, Powell, and then either Elijah or Cannon. And, they're not going to carry 5 backs, so that's going to be even a spot that, Dortch may even beat out, so Elijah McGuire may get cut if he wins the return battle. So, you don't know if you're going to keep 3 or 4. Most teams will keep 4, but you're definitely not going to keep 5. So I think some teams keep 6, but you could go 5. But so I think he's got a good shot to win it if he returns well and doesn't fumble the ball. I mean,
absolutely.
Cannon didn't show me much last year in the preseason. I mean, we didn't see a ton of them in the regular season in the ground game. That's why they drafted him as a returner. So I think that one's going to be, and especially Andre Roberts came out of nowhere last year to be a Pro Bowler, and now he's gone in Buffalo. So I think that's definitely a battle to watch in the preseason between those two. I know it's not that exciting, but
listen, it's a guy who's trying to follow a dream, and it's
both guys.
Absolutely, and of course someone's going to be crushed and someone's going to be happy, but I'm going with my guy Dortch. But moving on to our next position, who do you think wins this backup running back spot?
Yeah, I mean, they brought Powell back. I think Montgomery, though, is gonna win it. I mean, you're gonna use both of them, but Ty Montgomery right now to me is a little bit more healthier, a little bit more younger, fresher legs. I know Bilal Powell's the longest tenured Jet right now. It's great that he's back after having the neck injury. They can utilize him in pass catching on third. I mean, well, it remains to be seen. We're going to find out. I mean, he's healthy enough to put a helmet. He had an injury similar to what Quincy Enunwa had, but Q was a lot younger when it happened. Powell's going to be 30 years old, so coming back from this. So hopefully, he's in good health and everything. But I think Montgomery's definitely your second back this year. But Powell's a guy you could use. But, that's the thing. You have Bell now, who's an every down back. So it's hard to work these guys in. So maybe it would be more of a competition. But
I actually think Montgomery kind of complements him, pretty well. Montgomery's a great third down back.
Mm-hmm.
He's originally a wide receiver at Stanford. They slowly converted him to running back for Green Bay. And, he's kind of stuck in that role. But, could catch a lot of passes and a versatile guy. So I think Gase could get a ton out of that guy. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. I'm just trying to think a couple other battles that we talked about. Maybe backup, if Marcus May isn't out, the backup safety between maybe Rontez Miles and Doug Middleton will be another one who's going to start that first week if he's not ready to go.
I think I would take Middleton over Miles in that aspect. But let me ask you a position battle. Who do you think starts at tight end week 1 for this group? I mean, they got Griffin. They signed my guy Bucky Hodges from Virginia Tech.
A couple moves. They signed the guy from Houston that you just mentioned. Yeah. So you've got Wesco from West Virginia.
And they drafted Wesco. So who do you think starts week 1 for this team?
Right now I'm not sure. I kind of think the guys they brought in, I think those guys. I think Bucky Jones is his name.
Bucky Hodges.
I think he's got. I saw his tape. I liked what he did on the film.
Man, he was a quarterback in college. They converted him to tight end. Great athlete. Could kind of do a bunch of different things.
Yeah, so. I think I don't know if Wesco's going to be ready just yet. I mean, they're going to have a lot of opportunities. And Tomlinson's still going to be your blocker.
That's a huge question mark. You know, and it's going to be, is Wesco ready, or do they just go with the guy Griffin, or does maybe, like I said, a guy like Hodges pops and maybe he ends up starting.
Yeah, that's going to be a fantastic one to watch. Yeah, definitely a good question. And moving on, I think we've covered most of the big position battles. So we've got a little segment on Jets fantasy football players this year. If you're going to start a fantasy team, which Jets are you taking in your fantasy league this year?
Well, I gotta be honest. I think Le'Veon Bell comes in as like a top 5, top 6 player. And, on the offense, he's kind of one of the only guys that you could really rely on. Now, I think that in PPR, Crowder and Enunwa could have some value. And, Anderson's extremely intriguing, but, with the kind of wide receivers I'm looking for in fantasy, I want that, 6, 7, 8 catches for 100 yards kind of every time. Robbie's such a feast or famine guy. So, if I was really looking to draft any Jets, I think Herndon would be fantastic value for a tight end, especially you want to pick him up in the waiver wire, draft and stash. He'd be a pretty good value. Obviously, Le'Veon's going to put up super numbers. The only thing is, every defense he's going against is going to know that he's the guy, So, but that's a guy you could rely on. And then the wide receivers are kind of a question mark. And, another thing that it's kind of crazy to say, but, Darnold could definitely be a starting quarterback on a fantasy team, especially, against certain teams, maybe after the first 6 games and our schedule lightens up a little bit. But, he would be probably one of the first backup quarterbacks taken, in this year's fantasy draft.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Do you think Darnold could end up being a big starting quarterback in a fantasy league this year? Probably a backup, but to play on
Listen,
one
I
league
think he
right
starts as a backup, and, guys are going to go down, guys are going to step up, and, Darnold could definitely be a starting quarterback option for a couple people during the season. I guarantee it.
And, I might be high a little bit on the Jets' defense this year as far as fantasy. I think Greg Williams is going to dial up some pressures to get some
stats. Think they have a top 10 defense?
I don't know if it's top 10, but I think they'll definitely be able to get some sacks, get some interceptions, maybe like...
Well, that's the thing. That's the only thing that bothers me about
special
the Jets
teams.
defense
They could get...
I just think the Jets, the Jets defense all along, I always think that they're good against the run. They kind of get beat on some home run stuff. But, I want some more defensive touchdowns, I want some more sacks. I think this season, could be one of their best fantasy seasons as a Jet defense in a while.
Yeah, so that should be definitely exciting. But, it's getting to be about that time again as we're wrapping things up. So, here, first day of training camp, Jets have it in the books. And it's time now for the 2-minute drill. All right, it's time for the 2-minute drill. I'll start off by asking questions first. All right, Brian. Yes or no, do the Jets play meaningful games in November and December like Adam Gase said the other day?
I'm going to go no.
Wow. Is Sam Darnold overconfident by stating he expects a lot of wins this year?
I love his confidence, and I think that he should stick with that, and I think his mindset should be to win every single game. So, no.
Name a Jet that we don't know his name now, but we will know his name by the end of training camp.
Oof, that's a great question. How about a guy who I think is going to pop, our draft pick, Blake Cashman?
Okay, and the last question I have for you. Will the Jets make a significant move for a starter, whether it's at cornerback, offensive line, or another position before the start of the season?
I'm hopeful. I think the Jets are going to go crazy, and I think we're going to make a move for Trent Williams. How about that?
There you go. All right, so he says yes. And
all right.
Still no meaningful games. Wow. That would be a big disappointment if they did that then. But, all right, go ahead.
Okay. Will Le'Veon Bell have the most scrimmage yards by any Jet in a single season?
Ooh. No, I don't think so. Not this year.
Which player most concerns you going into camp?
Which player? Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold.
I need that develop. Why? I want him to develop. He's the future of the team. Not that I'm concerned that he's going to be bad, but it all revolves around him.
When we go to camp, who are you most excited to see?
Who am I most excited to see? Jamal Adams, man, the Prez.
Who would you like to interview the most?
Jamal Adams.
He sticks with Jamal Adams. All right, folks, that's it.
Yeah, there you have it. That's a 2-minute drill. That's going to wrap things up. Again, keep us locked and loaded right here on the Jetting Up podcast. Follow us again on Twitter. Hit us up on our Instagram. We'll be at Jets Camp on Saturday, so we should have some good videos to post. Hopefully we'll get an interview with the Prez himself, Jamal Adams. It's just going to be a fun day for me and B. But for now, we're going to sign off. You can always follow us on our Twitter page at Jetting_up. On Instagram at Jetting_up_pod, and then our YouTube channel, Jetting Up Podcast. I'm Bryan Foti, and for my boy B-Reich, we'll talk to you real soon, and always remember to jet up.